She was a loner with a sharp tongue and a chip on her shoulder, estranged from friends, family, and eventually her husband. But when her ex mysteriously fell gravely ill several times, no one could quite prove what happened. What started as a marital strife would soon spiral into something far darker. She had a grudge, a plan, and the perfect lethal ingredient. This week's episode is Erin Patterson, Australia's Mushroom Murderer, Part 1.
Sinisterhood. Well, I love a mushroom. Love a mushroom, and I don't like when mushrooms are used nefariously because then they get a bad name.
Right. This is definitely a case where people who are like, I don't really like mushrooms in my food. You know what? You're not wrong. But having watched Fantastic Fungi together, I feel like mushrooms are so magical. And any mycologist would tell you they are incredible.
Oh, yes.
I feel like entities almost, like, because they're not even alive or dead. You know what I mean? They're not conscious, but are they?
Thing. Are they? I mean, they all connect. At least they did in that Pedro Pascal show. So,
and I think it's like real life, like they, interact like that or whatever. So,
but anything that could kill someone, just given its natural components, has evolved into something quite remarkable for whatever reason. And that's just another reason why these fungi are so mysterious, magical,
fantastic, as they say in the title of the movie.
Fantastic fungi. And we learned in that it's fungi and not fungi, like we were always saying.
And we had no idea this
and
whole
it messed
time.
up the whole joke of, hey, you want to go out with that mushroom? I hear he's a real fun guy. And now it doesn't make any sense.
They were like, did you mean fungi?
And I'm like,
no.
You sound great at parties. I'm going to skip.
It's not a fungi. The person that reminds you that it's fungi instead. That's not a fungi thing to do.
Also not a fun guy, Erin Patterson, because this is fucking wild.
She's heinous. Just buckle in. This is one of the more insidious people as we watch her develop and get to where she is today. And this is an international news story, but we'll save how it ends for the end. But it's been all over Australian media, but it's made its way to the States as well and had lots of requests to cover this. So here we are bringing you a sorry excuse for a human, I hate to say, but she really is as we go through there. If there's a redeeming quality, I'm struggling to find it. I mean,
well, people said she was brilliant. So, but with brilliance often comes you're too smart for your own good.
That's a problem.
I also just have a weird, I don't think this is a hot take to have a weird thing about shit being put in my food. But anytime we have read stuff on Am I the Asshole, or we all remember the snail one. We all remember the Tupperware at the office. Anything like that just sends me, because those things were not stuff that people normally consume in that manner. Now this, a mushroom in a beef Wellington, yeah, sure. But still being fed something and not understanding what's going to happen to you in a mere couple of hours, but the other person does, is so dark and sinister to just sit there with someone knowing what you've done to them.
A significant amount of not only premeditation, but you're right. Acceptance of the outcome of your actions, and in fact, probably wanting the outcomes of your actions. So
just looking to see how it goes down.
It's definitely something to contemplate while what she was thinking while all of this was going on. So we'll introduce you to this monster, as we'll say, but I would say not a witch, as some people to use that
witches
term.
Are good. Well,
I was going to say, people try to use that term pejoratively, like that old, because they try to replace bitch with witch, and they'll be like, oh, that old witch just did this. And I'm like, hey, now, let's not besmirch the good names of witches who are out there doing the work.
Because I'd like to say I'm both. and I don't sometimes I'm a witchy bitch. Sometimes I'm a witchy bitch. Sometimes I'm just a witch. Sometimes
Yeah.
I'm just a bitch. And if Meredith Brooks would like to get in contact with me to rewrite that song,
I'm
isn't
a
that
witch. I'm a warlock.
I'm a mother, I'm a bitch, but I'm also a wizard doing spells in my backyard on a nightly basis is what you and I have been up to lately.
That's the way it goes.
And we're gearing up for October 4th, our only live show on land this year.
It is.
Season of the Witch at the famed Texas Theater on October 4th in Dallas, Texas. All the fun things you love about the show centered around witchy stuff, much like Full Moon Energy was. This also is an even more special date, which we did not personally talk to Taylor's team. However, I mean, clearly she listens to the show. And so I think her dropping TS12 the day before is a sure, very powerful witch sign, first of all. And then we can all talk about it. Also, listen to it while y'all are in the, audience on the playlist and we're backstage. You can all enjoy it.
Like the pretrial playlist is just this one album. No, it will be, I'm sure, all sorts of witchy songs, like Chrissy said. It's all the things you love about the show. We talk about I have a lot of questions about this stuff that I was like, this is going to make for the perfect script of the show, because if we're wondering it, you're probably wondering it too. So about the lore, history, incidences of witchery or being accused of witchery, all kinds of great stuff. October 4th, Texas Theater. Go to sinisterhood.com/live shows where you'll find info on that, as well as info on Crime Wave at Sea 2025, the ultimate true crime cruise
sea show.
Just the ocean show, the true crime festival at sea. So we got one if by land, one if by sea, and that's it. And then that's it. So go to sinisterhood.com/live shows, get your fan code, get on the boat, get in the Texas Theater, and we will keep you updated and apprised of the streaming option for the live show. Speaking of streaming, also, as you're listening to this on Wednesday, August 19th, this Thursday, August 20th, is our live Q&A. Monthly, we go live on Patreon to answer and talk about whatever you want to talk about. So if you have burning questions, go to patreon.com/sinisterhood and join us Thursday, August 21st is the day for our live Q&A.
Month is flying by, isn't it?
I can't believe it. It was like somebody was asking me a question and was like, well, yeah, and then Labor Day weekend's coming up after that. And I was like, that's like the end of next week.
Yeah, and that's just like 2 weeks because kids go back to school and then it's immediately like, by the way, everyone's off on Monday.
They're home again, by the way. And you're like, we just got started.
Oh, and then a friend the other day was like, yeah, and it's only 4 months to December. And I was like, what? Oh, you're right. And then it's another month break. But also, when you break things down, time and like chunks like that, it just blows my mind. I can't think about it too much. I'll start to spiral out of control.
Right? You start to spiral out when I start being like, it's this many minutes even. Like, oh God, it's all ticking away like sands through the hourglass. So goes the days of our lives. But we're here to talk about the days of Erin Patterson's life and how it ended in tragedy for so many others.
Absolutely. Well, I'm Christy.
I'm Heather.
And let's get into it. Erin Trudy Scudder was born in Australia in September of 1974. She grew up in the southeastern Melbourne suburb of Glen Waverley, where her father worked as a government employee, and her mother was an academic specializing in 19th century literature at Monash University. Not much is known about her childhood. In 1992, Erin was accepted into a science course at the University of Melbourne, but later switched to accounting. She also completed training as an air traffic controller and began a job in that field in 2001.
Yeah, the background on her is not extensive. She was, to be fair, a completely private citizen before any of this happened. So it's not like there's she's got a biography or large digital footprint, except for in certain spaces, which we'll discuss. But ATC is a rough job. That's a stressful job.
And kind of even from the beginning, kind of all over the place, not really sure. Science, accounting, air traffic control, all different, very different fields to go into. Like she's kind of trying her hand to see what sticks.
Not fitting in, maybe.
Yeah, true. From February of 2001 to November of 2002, Erin worked at Melbourne's Tullamarine Airport. Her colleagues described her as intelligent, but sometimes erratic. She was outspoken and occasionally cried at work. There were ongoing concerns about her behavior, how she treated coworkers, and how she presented herself. She often wore the same clothes to work and looked unkempt. Coworkers called her
Scudder the Nutter. Scudder the Nutter is brutal.
That is brutal. Now, in hindsight, not as brutal. At this time, you're like, we don't know what's really going on. She's a bit of an odd duck, as Nancy would say. You know, she cries at work. Same. I don't think we should.
Yeah, right. When it said she cried at
First
work,
of all,
I was like,
let's normalize crying at work. Okay?
Yeah, it was like under work circumstance when they were like, oh, Erin's crazy. She used to cry at work. I was like, about what though? Like, what did you? Because let's not get on work criers. Sometimes we cry at work.
No.
In the bathroom. We need to. Beforehand, afterwards, in the middle. Who knows?
Sometimes she was outspoken and occasionally cried at work. Hard relate.
Like
now,
they said about Heather McKinney.
How she wore the same clothes and looked unkempt. Again, maybe there's other issues going on that no one knows about. So to already say Scudder the Nutter is a lot. I think though the concerns about how she treated coworkers, if that hadn't been there and it was all just like quirky, weird stuff, you know, that's forgiven a little easier than if she starts lashing out at her own coworkers about things.
Absolutely. And I think also reconciling the fact that it was early 2000s or before 2000 and probably like 8, 9, 10, it started to become a little bit more like normalized when someone was presenting outward symptoms that you wouldn't just be like, that person's a nut and a wacko and a loser. Now you might go, are you struggling with something at home? Are you perhaps the unkempt appearance, you're not showering because you're depressed? It's like an outreach thing. But in the early 2000s, we were just like, freak. And seriously. And then just be like, okay, weirdo freak, get out of here. And it's like, we're all adults. We shouldn't treat people like that.
Yeah, no, it is weird how, I mean, it's good that, you know, we've progressed in some ways. When we look back on things like this though, and we're like, man, just like 20 years ago, we were all just saying horrible shit to each other. And then you go back 10 more years into the 90s and you're like, oh Christ, what were we all doing?
No, seriously. It's why I love reading nonfiction stuff from old times or like, and I say old times, I've been recently reading a lot of pieces from like 96 to like not even 2000, like 96 to 99. And it is just fascinating.
So my high school years, basically.
Yeah. And it is
the olden times.
The olden
in
days.
The 1900s.
Then I was just reading in 1848. And then I'm like, just like crazy comparisons of like some things never change and some things are very different. But you're right. Like the way that things were treated. It's funny to read this person, like the author pointing out like, we should this seems kind of bad. And I'm like, oh, just wait like 20 years. You're right. It is bad.
Yeah.
You were right. You were just ahead of your time.
Trust your gut.
Yeah. Sinisterhood will be right back.
You've probably seen a million ads for hair growth products and thought, sure, like that actually works. Well, I do too. Every time I'm scrolling TikTok and I'm like, there's no way all of this stuff works despite what all the comments say. But then I found out that Nutrafol isn't like the rest of them. Nutrafol is physician formulated, clinically tested, and dermatologist recommended, not just a bunch of bots on TikTok.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. You can feel great about what you're putting into your body since Nutrafol hair growth supplements are backed by peer-reviewed studies and NSF content certified, the gold standard in third-party certification for supplements.
While many supplements rely solely on ingredient studies, Nutrafol clinically tests its final formulations using advanced hair measurement tools like hair counts and pull tests to track real improvements in growth, quality, shedding, and texture. And it's not just backed by studies. Their research is published in peer-reviewed journals and vetted by doctors, ensuring scientific rigor and reliable results.
That's what I'm trying. Like you said, I don't need a bunch of rando fakers. I need like doctors and scientists to tell me. Adding Nutrafol to your daily routine is simple. Purchase online, no prescription required. Automated deliveries and free shipping will keep you on track. Plus, with a Nutrafol subscription, you can save up to 20%. You'll have access to free one-on-one naturopathic doctor consults to support you in your hair growth journey. And a Headspace meditation membership is included. I love the founder of Headspace Meditation, Andy Pettycombe. He's a phenomenal
Headspace is
meditation
great.
person.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a great app.
What a great pairing this is, too.
Mm-hmm.
See thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month's subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code CREEPY.
Find out why Nutrafol is the best-selling hair growth supplement brand at Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code CREEPY. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code CREEPY. Sinisterhood will be right back.
One colleague told news outlets later,
she was good enough to do the job, but there were issues with her. She was colorful, smart, very smart, almost too smart. She was no dummy.
Another described her as
a vindictive liar who thought she was smarter than everyone else.
She played tricks on staff, openly defied senior management, and had 2 workplace relationships. One colleague reported finding a blade from a pencil sharpener in his banana. Another said,
no one could prove it was her, but she had a way about it that was off-putting.
Erin left the job abruptly at the end of 2002. Well, okay, so now we see where the nutter part, we get a little more context for that, and it appears she's already tampering with food in a very scary way.
That's what was fascinating to me about this, was that it shows a predilection toward, well, I've been wronged.
Yeah, perceived.
Correct.
I've perceived being wrong.
Yeah, I've been wronged. But then my response is, I will sneakily do something. And again, I think it ties to she was smart, very smart, too smart. People were like, she thought she was smarter than everyone else. So I think something about hiding something in food indicates I will get away with this. I'm smarter than you. You were too stupid to know that banana soft, razor sharp. I keep eating. And, I mean, on this case, I think she, if she did it, you're hoping you bite the banana and get stabbed. But I think there's a correlation between the thinking she's smart and trying to damage food.
Yeah. That sends shivvies down my spine.
Can you imagine?
No, because it would just be like a crunch damage. Hopefully you accidentally swallow it if it's in the banana. I mean, clearly it's like 2 very different textures, so you would probably notice, but if you do swallow it, that could fuck you up even more.
No, and this is a situation too where it's 2002. You got a razor blade in your banana, or you're probably like, I think it was Scudder the Nutter. Like, I think we all know who it was. Like they said, we couldn't really prove it was her. But then,
who else would do it?
Right? But like 20 something years later, that face comes on the news and you're like, ugh! Like I barely missed it.
Mm-hmm, for sure. She then worked various jobs, including accountant, part-time magazine editor in Corumburra, and animal management employee at the city of Monash. In the same year, she met and became friends with Simon Patterson, who worked as an engineer at Monash City Council. Later that year, Erin was involved in a drunk driving crash in Melbourne's eastern suburbs. A breathalyzer test 3 hours after the crash showed a blood alcohol content of 0.14%. She was convicted on 5 charges, including failing to stop after an accident and speeding at 95 kilometers per hour in a 60 kilometer per hour zone. Her license was suspended for 30 months.
And this was, around 2004 when it happened, but I think it evidences a person struggling to deal with whatever the underlying issue is.
Yes, turning to alcohol, there's,
risky behavior.
Yeah, risky behavior is a good way to put it.
Yeah, alcohol, drunk driving, and the other of the 5 charges all were related to like leaving, refusal to provide police information or vehicle registration, like refusing to provide vehicle registration information and driver information to police where damage had been done. So it also, to me, evidences a lack of willingness to cooperate with police. Drunken belligerence, perhaps. Yes.
Yeah.
0.14 is significant. 0.08 is the legal limit in Texas, at least. So that's nearly
Almost double.
twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clearly she's evasive. And I always think when people are evasive, especially with cops, that it again harkens to, I'm the smartest person here.
Yeah, I can get away with that. I can lie. I'm like, man, you crashed a car. They're going to find out who you are like in seconds. But again, you're right. That shows her the initial indicate, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the initial,
the reaction.
Yeah, kind of. Or like what you want to do.
Inclination.
Yes, that's the word. Her original inclination is, oh, I'm going to lie and get away with it. I'll figure out my way out of this.
Yeah.
Again, of like, rather than, okay, I did this. I'm the one that put the razor in the banana or whatever.
Things like that often start in childhood too. You know, like most adults didn't just like decide as adults, I'm going to start lying about stuff. Usually, you know, it's kind of a trait you grow up with.
That's a good way to put it too. Yeah. When you're working with someone like her, you're like, nobody, you were not raised right. As my mother would say, you ain't got no raisin. Somebody, and whether it's something that happened to her, something she chose to do or whatever. But I think more and more and more will come out about her childhood as interest in this case grows. You know, more people coming forward with the like, she did this to me at work, and it's just going to go back and back from there. That hopefully will help color this in.
Yeah. Simon and Erin then turned their friendship romantic and began dating in 2005. They married in 2007. But Erin's parents did not attend the wedding. She later explained they were traveling abroad, specifically
in Russia on a train
at the time. Instead, a cousin walked her down the aisle. Simon and Erin relocated to Western Australia, living in towns such as Perth, York, and Pemberton. There, she ran a secondhand bookshop while he worked for the council. In 2007, Erin inherited around 2 million Australian dollars from her grandmother. She invested in real estate and loaned money to family members.
This is where my questions about her family are also kind of peaked, because she makes a lot of comments, as we'll get to, but just all her comments about her in-laws were, they're the only family I've got. And she said stuff like that even while her parents were still alive. So there's some issue. And even if you go, well, it's nothing personal that my parents didn't come to my wedding. They were in Russia on a train. And you're like, so did you elope? Did you not know? Was it an emergency Russian train ride? Like Russia's far from Australia.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I mean, I could look at a map and tell you that. I don't know
like,
exactly
I can see Russia from my house. I don't think you can.
But it paints in, like you said, colors some stuff. Maybe not fitting in. Maybe she never really fit in growing up, and also didn't have a good relationship with her parents, and parents not attending a wedding unless both are deathly ill, is always a bit of a red flag. Like what happened there? Because that's like usually the, what every parent dreams of, seeing their kid get married, walking them down the aisle. So to choose to be on a train in Russia, if they were aware it was happening, also she could have just decided while they were in Russia on a train, hey, by the way, I'm getting married.
Let's do this. Yeah. She didn't invite, she was like, oh, they'll be out of town. Let's do it then. That was my other question, is like, was the estrangement, I think the estrangement was before the wedding. The wedding is evidence of some type of estrangement. And later when they discussed children, they're like, oh, Simon's parents are the only grandparents. So there's a lot of these comments that it was her before her parents died, like while they were still alive, there were these comments that they were not involved, or they were not dear to her, or she didn't rely on them, it didn't seem like. And especially the inheritance coming, I believe some money went to her sibling and some money went to her. But
I'm surprised she gave some to family, given how she talks about them too.
The only thing I can think about is, if you think you're smarter than people and you also think you're better than people, or you have this, like, she's a homely gal. Like, let's be real. She's just a little frumpy. She's not very well taken care of. She's always sort of looked like that. And it is a way to feel better about yourself, or feel like I am better than these people, to be like, oh, you need money from me. Sure. I
A
would love
power
to lend you
move.
money.
Yeah. Something to hang over people's head, perhaps, too.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
After marriage, Erin converted from atheism to Christianity and became active in the Corumburra Baptist Church, where her in laws, Don and Gail Patterson, were also members. According to Simon, Erin,
Shared a love of knowledge and learning.
with her father in law, Don, and appreciated Don's,
Gentle nature.
the couple had moved to be closer to her in laws and continue growing their bond with Simon's family.
It seems to me as well from conversations that Simon had with his folks that he was close to his parents, loving, close relationship, asked them for advice, relied on them for advice, and like had the type of relationship where you're going to move to be closer to them, not
Yeah.
like they needed us or, oh, it's, we felt obligated to move back. It's like, I think he was close with his family and loved his parents.
He wanted to live near him. Yeah, for enjoyment purposes. And if she's like, I don't have any relationship with my family, I'm kind of going to gleam onto this as my new family. I'm all in. Let's go. We can be closer to them, can be great, and it can also be deadly.
Right. And especially if you're kind of like, we're getting ready to start a family. We want to be around grandma and grandpa.
Yeah, true. Erin gave birth to 2 children in 2008 and 2013, though she and Simon separated frequently. Later, Simon described their relationship as
Toxic.
marked by frequent breakdowns. During one trip to Perth, they fought so badly that Erin flew home alone, leaving Simon to drive back with their 3-month-old. They officially separated in 2015, but continued to co-parent amicably and did not get divorced.
Oof. 3-month-old on any road trip.
Alive. That's rough, especially you're not just hurting Simon by doing, you know what I mean? 3-month-olds need their moms if they're breastfeeding or what, just
Even
for
not.
helping out too. Yeah, a road trip with a 3-month-old is a lot to handle. So yeah, that's a selfish move for sure.
And then, yeah, they just kind of tells you the ages of the kids. If they got separated in 2015, you've got a 2-year-old and a 7-year-old. So
yeah,
that's hard ages for the kids, I'm sure, to have to go through that. But if it was as toxic and as it sounds like fights, breakdowns, and if Simon is from his parents are married, stayed married until their old age, like he's close with them, that's kind of difficult if somebody's in a relationship with another person who the other party doesn't know how to handle their the feelings or how to healthily communicate. You would probably be like, I'll just drive back by myself. Fine.
Yeah.
You might welcome it for all we know.
Yeah. It is interesting when people get married and come from 2 very different families. And then you're like, oh, that's not how my family did stuff. So I don't really know how to handle this now.
It collides. And in this case, sounds like in a very bad way.
Yeah. But like you said, even 2 and 7, hard to go through a divorce, way harder for them to see their parents fighting all the time and being in such a toxic relationship.
And I think we'll see, like, Simon made the right move separating from her.
Yes, yes. By the late 2010s, Erin sought companionship online. She visited true crime Facebook groups and online mushroom foraging websites. Pages like iNaturalist allowed Erin to see where certain types of wild fungi may be found, including death caps. Among the deadliest fungi globally, death cap mushrooms are often found in parts of Australia, especially near imported oak trees. They sometimes appear on foraging websites not as edible options, but as warnings. Users or admins post their location to help educate others on how to avoid deadly lookalikes, commonly mistaken for edible mushrooms.
I think foraging's all well and good, like they said, so long as you don't accidentally get one that is, very severely toxic. The name, it's in the name.
Yeah, if it's called a death cap, you got to stay away. They did everything they could. That's the thing with foraging that I respect enough to know I shouldn't be doing it until I educate myself, because what was Into the Wild? Wasn't I think it was Into the Wild book / movie where you don't know the types of berries or whatever that you're picking and stuff, and you accidentally just ingest something. So it is an art, and I can understand why it would be a very entertaining hobby and something where you would find like other foragers that want to go out and do it. When you start looking specifically for where these certain types of mushrooms that most people want to avoid are, it gets to be a bit suspicious.
Right. It's like the posts that were on there, and we'll talk about him in part 2, but there's an awesome guy involved in this called Funky Tom. And when Funky Tom
calling Tommy Funky Tom.
This is Australian Funky Tom. He's our Texan Funky Tom, but Australian Funky Tom's
that's why he's Tommy.
Yeah, exactly. Funky Tommy. But Funky Tom's like posting these things like, hey, everybody, if you're in XYZ area, watch out, be careful. Yeah. And that's noble. The problem is you don't know who's looking at that website, and your warning to someone is just like a, hey, come and get it flag for somebody else. But I mean, and on the flip side, if you're say, a free solo hiker or a wall scaler or whatever, and you post like, just so you know, this area, if you take 3 steps the wrong way, it's really dangerous and you can fall off. And then someone takes their spouse out there and kicks them off the side of it. I don't know that the person posting, hey, FYI, this is a thing to avoid, is really like at fault.
No. Yeah. I think the intentions were noble. It's just like you said, it's like a grocery list if you're trying to find where they are. It is interesting though. I mean, unless it was in a type of, well, a national park is protected, but I was thinking with things like this that grow in the wild that could be poisonous and eaten by just anyone, are there groups or law enforcement or something that go around and like basically pull them so people can't accidentally ingest them?
I think the groups like iNaturalist, and there's another one as well, their purpose is not to disrupt the ecosystem, but to protect anybody that would consume it. I think animals know not to, and it doesn't taste right and they don't want it. But the whole idea is like, they look like, and it's like a sticky paddock or a sticky patty type of mushroom. They very similar to another type of mushroom.
So many types of fungi.
So many. And that's why you have to have,
my apologies.
You got to have this website. Otherwise you're like dunzo. So I think there's not, to my knowledge, a group that specifically goes and removes them. The idea is it's sort of, I'm sure the health departments are happy that this group of passionate people kind of self-manage it.
Yeah. And I guess they shouldn't be removed. Like, first of all, they're all talking underground. So
they
if you remove them, they know. Oh, they know.
They know for sure. But yeah, she definitely, I think, taking an interest in mushrooms out of nowhere, it's a chicken and the egg situation.
Yeah.
Like, in my opinion, I think she was looking for not a razor blade to put in a banana, but something else to put in a banana. And you don't notice if it's, I don't know, ground up mushrooms. Sinisterhood will be right back. This is an ad by BetterHelp. These days, it feels like there's advice for everything. Cold plunges, gratitude journals, screen detoxes. But how do you know what actually works for you? For me, what works is to go on a bike ride where I'm by myself in the forest and I can just ride around.
Yeah.
Sometimes listening to an audiobook that just truly brings my blood pressure down.
Yes, be with yourself and your thoughts, get out in nature. I've been doing a lot of journaling lately and kind of meditating on different tarot cards, what they might mean to me, or just meditating in general. And like you said earlier, doing kind of the body scan at the beginning of the day of what do I need to work on today? With the internet and information overload about mental health and wellness, it can be a struggle to know what's true and what actions to take these days. Using trusted resources and talking to live therapists can get you personalized recommendations and help you break through the noise.
I have to say, my BetterHelp therapist is incredible. She and I have been working together over a year now, almost, coming up on 2 years here. And I really feel like my physical health, by that I mean just like my stress levels have come down, and she's really helped me decouple myself from my previous like 9-to-5 grind mindset and a lot of like black and white thinking and stuff. So it's been a lot of issues I didn't even know I had, which is what we go for.
That is true.
BetterHelp is fully online, making therapy affordable and convenient, serving over 5 million people worldwide. Access a diverse network of more than 30,000 credentialed therapists with a wide range of specialties. Easily switch therapists anytime at no extra cost. And it works with an App Store rating of 4.9 out of 5 based on over 1.7 million client reviews.
As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise.
Talk it out with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/sinister. That's betterhelp.com/sinister. Sinisterhood will be right back.
Between 2021 and 2022, Simon fell seriously ill 4 separate times with severe gastrointestinal symptoms and had to be hospitalized twice. These incidents occurred at Wilson's Promontory in November of 2021, camping in May of 2022, at Erin's house in July of 2022, and bushwalking in September of 2022. He was ill with symptoms doctors described as
highly unusual.
On one occasion, Simon fell into a coma for 16 days and underwent emergency surgery. Family members were brought in to say goodbye. Miraculously, he lived. Despite extensive medical tests, no clear cause was identified, but poisoning was not ruled out.
This dude went fucking through it.
Dude.
So the first time, and I think this is really sad because it's a situation where he's trying to, in addition to the poisoning, but I think like he was in these positions because they wanted to amicably co-parent the kids. I personally think that she wanted them to get back together and thought they were, because they weren't divorced. They were just separated. And he is being kind and co-parenting. So going camping together. So you go to camping at Wilson's Promontory together. She hands you a Tupperware of penne bolognese. You eat it. The next day, you're sick as fuck. You spend 5 days in the hospital. And you're like, that was crazy. I spent 5 days in the hospital. November, December, January, February, March, April, May. 6 months later, let's go camping again. Do you want to go camping again? She prepares chicken curry, gives him the chicken curry. That's when he had to spend 16 days in a medically induced coma. That's so many days in a coma. And had part of his bowel removed. He had multiple surgeries. Like, the recovery from that,
crazy.
Miserable.
Yeah.
Miserable. Still goes back to her house. I mean, again, you think that's weird.
Do you see? Here's my question. At what point after the first time are you like, I think she poisoned me? Or is it after the curry where you're like, there's no way this happened twice and she didn't poison me?
Right. Well, the only thing I could think of is both of those times they were camping. So, like, if you go to the doctor and the doctor's like, you're really sick, but we're not really sure what it was. Like, where were you? And he's like, I was outside. And they're like, it could have been something there. So that was May. Gets out. July 2022, goes to her house. It's beef stew at her house. Hospitalized again. Takes a month to recover. So August 2022 is gone because you're trying to recover from being hospitalized. September, they go bushwalking together. She gives him a vegetable curry wrap. He notices that maybe it's like wrapped a little bit different. And then that's when he was paralyzed. He was paralyzed from the neck down temporarily so that only his tongue and lips could move.
Oh.
And I have to assume it was Erin gave me the vegetable wrap is the only thing his tongue and lips did. But they weren't able to trace down like what it was that was making him sick, which is why this death cap stuff is so insidious, is because you really have to catch it early before your body has metabolized all of the toxins that are inside of you. And so it's kind of the perfect thing to poison somebody with. We also don't know if he was poisoned with death cap mushrooms at this point or something else, because there's indication that Erin also had things that were like common poison books.
Cyanide.
Literally called Common Poison. And it was like highlighting cyanide, you know what I mean? So like she was looking at other stuff. But you're right. Is it the third time when you've had the beef stew at her house? But then at what point are you like, I don't want to go camping with mom anymore, kids. Like, I'm sorry, I can't go camping because she poisons me every time and I'm hospitalized.
Also, hey kids, have y'all noticed how mom gives me different food than the rest of us every single time? Isn't that kind of strange? My Tupperware looked a bit different than y'all's. My wrap looked a bit different. I think after the second time, I would be like, nah, I feel like that she's doing this intentionally.
I wonder too if you almost like don't want to believe it because it is the mom of your kids.
Yeah.
And you're like, she's a bit of a nutter, as they say. She has her issues or whatever, but surely, like, your brain's kind of like, she wouldn't try to kill me though.
Mhm.
But the sad fact of the matter is like, you sometimes don't know what people are capable
No.
of.
It's very Corey Richins-esque.
Yes.
You know? I think she, and this is just my opinion, was testing him out. I hate to say guinea pigs because I got 3 next
like,
to me.
can hear
But I think she
But no.
was testing out an array of different types of poisons to see what might work best.
And yeah, it's like if at first you don't succeed, she's like, invite him to another camping trip. Yeah.
Yeah. And find something else to put in his stew this time.
Mm-hmm.
Simon himself grew suspicious of Erin, reportedly telling friends and doctors that she had prepared all the meals he'd eaten prior to each illness, including penne bolognese, chicken curry, and cookies. He even preserved a jar of vomit as evidence in case he died. So far, no toxicology results, forensic findings, or witness accounts have been released that directly tie Erin to these events. However, in each case, Erin prepared the food outside of Simon's view and followed up later to ensure he'd eaten it.
Yeah, when they were together, she's watching him going, "Oh, did you eat it?" And then in another case, I think it was the beef stew that she gave him, and he took some home, and then also there were cookies involved, and she's like, "Well, the kid helped you eat. The kid, our daughter helped make the cookies. Did you eat them? Did you eat the cookies? Did you make sure you eat the cookies?" And I think that's when he's like, "She texted me a lot about that.
Yeah,
like too much.
Why is she so concerned if I eat these cookies or not?" Yeah. We see it time and time again, especially with people that think they're so smart. They doth protest too much and they show their hand because they have no fucking chill. And clearly she's had no chill from, it seems like, her early life for whatever reasons, caused that. He clearly knows. I think he knows in his heart, but kind of like the Corey Richins case, he knew too. He was like, I ate that sandwich and I got really sick. I think she's trying to poison me. And he also kept going back because of the kids.
Right. I want to say, like, fellas, it's fine to get a divorce. Like, don't feel, you know what I mean? Like, because I think you're right. Like, both of these guys seem like they were like, well, I could handle it. I'll make nice to the kids. I can handle it. And I'm like, just because you're a man. Enough. Yes. I'm like, just because you're a man, don't, and like, again, Simon did nothing wrong here, but a general PSA to men is like, I think oftentimes it's this kind of like toxic masculinity of like, well, it's fine. It's fine. She's not going to do anything. And even so I can handle it. And it's like, you don't know what you're up against sometimes and how insidious people are. What made me sad about this whole situation is, it is my understanding Simon shared with his dad, hey, I think Erin might be responsible for why I've been hospitalized. And his dad said, don't tell too many people about that. And I'm not sure if it's kind of like, oh, you're just being suspicious. I don't know. But I found that quite chilling after the fact that maybe for family reasons.
I could speculate, and that's all this is. One, perhaps what you were just saying about the toxic masculinity. Two, for family's sake.
Yeah, the kids.
Or three, Simon said that Erin really liked his dad and was, loved his demeanor and his calm way. So if they do have like a close relationship and maybe she treats him in a way and they have a dynamic that other people don't, then he doesn't, want to see her get in trouble for something that maybe she didn't do, maybe she did. But as we go on, the knowledge that Simon has shared that with his father and then what happens is even more chilling.
It is very chilling. And you're right. I think the only thing I can think was they are well known, the Pattersons, by that I mean Simon's parents.
Yeah.
And then Simon's mother, Gail, is sisters with Heather Wilkinson, and Ian Wilkinson's the pastor. And they're these older adults in their upper 70s or lower 70s, upper 60s. And it is a small town. It's a small church. It's a small congregation. It seems like a very like cohesive, loving place where people really relied on both Ian and Heather Wilkinson for advice and counsel, and similarly as elders in the community, the Pattersons as well. So it could be perhaps that, he views it as yet another of these like, I won't say wayward souls, but folks at church that have a tough time and they're all kind of fighting. And I think the parents also see her as the mom to the grandkids. You're kind of like, oh, surely
Let's not
not.
spread our family tea out everywhere.
Could also be that.
Just deal with this internally.
Yeah.
JP Miller style.
For real. Don't tell anybody. But it's heart-wrenching to think that there's these suspicions early on.
In late 2022, Simon listed himself as separated on his tax return for the first time. This decision had serious tax consequences for Erin. She responded by asking for child support and more financial separation. She also tried to involve Simon's parents in the dispute, asking that they reason with him and see her side. Dawn and Gail declined to take part. In December, Erin vented to her true crime Facebook group friends, calling Simon
deadbeat
and his parents
lost cause.
She also wrote,
"This family, I swear to fucking God, I'm sick of this shit. I want nothing to do with them. Fuck them."
Well, that escalated quickly of her liking his father to, "You're not going to help me." Like we've seen so many, I perceived I've been wronged. You are now on the list.
That really is what it seems to have just taken a turn when Simon later said, "I didn't really even think about it." Like when he went to do his taxes, it's my understanding he just was like, "Oh, we're separated, check the box." And like, wasn't like, "That bitch, I'll show her. I'm going to mark my," like, it was just like, "Oh, it's my tax return." And it's terrifying that a single box that you ticked, theoretically, that you didn't do anything wrong because it's the right box to tick because you are separated. Her tax consequences are her consequences. But that is something seemingly so like, it's paperwork, it's money, we'll figure it out, set her off. But you're right. It's like the second his parents weren't taking her side, which is, it's his parents, lady, obviously. She was like, "I got him."
Yeah. It's always freaky to think about how you could just be living your life doing things that are, just mundane. And someone else sees that and they are living an entirely different reality in their head. And you have just no idea. He's going about his business like, "Yeah, I filed my taxes." Meanwhile, she's over there plotting and stewing. And you just don't even know.
Right? You're just thinking like, oh, it's just kind of like this, just like, we'll get over it. Like she's texting me, and because it was a lot of like back and forth messages and stuff, and she's mad again. It always passes, whatever. Especially the person that you've had these repeated, not just the poisonings, but like before that, like all the fighting and stuff. But then you come back around and you end up camping together and whatever. I think you're set up in your head for a pattern that this is just like another dispute. We'll talk it out. We'll get through it. You couldn't think this is what's going to set her off.
Yeah.
Especially not months later.
Yeah. And we kind of glossed over, but I think it bears mentioning that the Facebook groups or online communities she's decided to become a part of are true crime and where to find death cap mushrooms. That's interesting. Like, there's a crossover there, but also what are you gaining / gleaning from the true crime sites,
Yeah, that becomes like, you're going there to make friends, but aren't you also probably gaining information, including
Getting
other
tips.
Little bits of info on her computer that she did have the common homicidal poisonings book or the Victorian naturalist that talks about like death caps and stuff. It all starts to combine into a clear picture that it wasn't just she woke up one day and was like accidentally mixed some things.
Yeah, no, not at all. In early 2023, Erin was living near Leongatha on the outskirts of Corumburra. She was seen as somewhat of an outsider, while Simon's family was well regarded in the small town. She continued foraging for mushrooms in areas near Loch and Outram during mushroom season in March and April, Australia's autumn. Cell tower records placed her in these areas, and she typically spent about 20 minutes at each site. online mushroom forums had marked each of the locations she visited as known death cap sites the days or hours before Erin visited them.
It also becomes pretty obvious what you're doing.
Yeah, there's a pretty big paper trail. Hours, somebody, and then hours later you show up. You're real thirsty for those death caps.
You're trying to get him before somebody else gets to him.
Yeah.
You're like, if there's another murderer on here, I don't want him to be.
Yeah.
But truly,
Yeah,
it's
and
like
she gets there and they're untouched. It's like most people are trying to avoid these, and that's why we're posting about them. Erin's coming to scoop them all up.
Yeah, she brought a bag with her to take as many home as she could. It turns out, I believe it takes 2 full-size caps to kill a person. So if you're going to kill 5 people, you would need about 10 large caps. And I think they only grow in like little collections of like 3 at a time, 2 at a time, 3 at a time. So it's going to be a process where you have to wait for the alert that someone posts about death caps and then drive out there, get them and gather them. And then I think your gathering is complete at some point. But for a genius that thinks she's smarter than everyone and knows she's smarter than everyone and is in true crime Facebook groups. And I'm not trying to help anyone get away with crimes, but like literally we live in a surveillance police state around the world. I mean, in most nations that have the amount of connectivity and internet that we have in Australia, Canada, UK, that's what from a lot of places in Europe. When you're that connected, no matter what you ever do, I don't care if it's like a dummy phone, a burner phone, whatever, it will get traced back to you, period, if you use computer to do your crime. And she used so much computer.
Yeah,
like she
used
all
a lot
computer.
Of computer. Yeah.
She almost 100% computer
all
this
computer
crime.
all the time. It
So
was
much.
oops all computer.
Oops,
to
all
find
computer.
These death caps.
Like, if you're going to read a book called The Victorian Naturalist, go to the library and get a hard copy of it. No one would know.
Go to a vintage bookstore and just sit and, I mean,
Peruse.
Again, I don't want to give ideas to anybody.
No.
However, people that think they're so smart, those are the ones that end up making a bunch of mistakes because they don't think like a regular, I don't know if that's the right word. They just think that
a psychologically average person.
Yes, they think they're so much smarter than everyone that like, oh, well, clearly these idiots aren't going to figure out what I'm doing. And it's like the idiots that can just look on your laptop and see your browsing history, it's not that hard to do.
They call the phone company in 1 second. They get a triangulation of like everywhere that you've been. So it is fascinating that she was left such a trail.
Yes.
Given her described personality.
On April 28th, 2023, on one of these trips, Erin stopped at a hardware store and bought a Sunbeam food dehydrator. She joked in messages that it would help her preserve mushrooms and fruit so they'd last all year.
That's the other thing is they go bad. The death caps go bad. So if you get a death cap in March, April, and depends on when you're going to use it, it's got to be preserved.
You got to freeze dry it and then powder it up. I mean, she knew what she was doing, for sure. On July 16th, Erin invited Simon to a lunch at her home on July 29th, saying she wanted to talk about a medical issue. The invitation also included Simon's parents, Gail and Don Patterson, both age 70, as well as his aunt and uncle, Heather and Ian Wilkinson, both in their late 60s. Ian was also the pastor at the local church. The reason was to discuss Erin's health issues, possibly cancer, and how to break the news to the children.
And she had kind of been building this story, mentioning to Gail and Heather and whatnot whenever they would pass, I've got another test, I think, coming up. They're not sure.
I'm not feeling great.
And by 2023, I think one of her parents, Erin's parents, died in 2019, and the other one died prior to that, both of cancer. So to me, that's like, oh, it's plausible.
Yeah.
Like I'll just tell them I think I have cancer, and they'll all come to lunch with me.
Yeah. Also, if both your parents, even if you are estranged, are dead, those are 2 less people you got to keep up this lie to, or try and explain away. Like, why aren't your parents here during your time of need?
Exactly. It makes it very convenient to be like, you're my only family, which is another phrase she often used, in my opinion, to manipulate the Pattersons and the Wilkinsons as, I know Simon and I aren't together and it's going bad. Ever since September when he marked us as separated, he really messed it all up. But you're my only family. And by all accounts, these are the 4 people to manipulate with that. These are just kind, good-hearted, loving people that
Older
a predator
people.
found.
Yeah.
Grandparents.
Trusting. Yeah. The night before the lunch, Simon backed out. He texted Erin saying,
Sorry, I'll feel too uncomfortable about coming to the lunch with you, Mum, Dad, Heather, and Ian tomorrow, but I'm happy to talk to you about your health and implications of that at another time if you'd like to discuss it on the phone.
Erin did not take the news well, responding,
That's really disappointing. I've spent many hours this week preparing lunch for tomorrow, which has been exhausting in light of the issues I'm facing, and spent a small fortune on beef eye fillet to make beef Wellingtons because I wanted it to be a special meal, as I may not be able to host a lunch like this again for some time. It's important to me that you're all there tomorrow and that I can have the conversations that I need to have. I hope you'll change your mind. Your parents and Heather and Ian are coming at 12:30. I hope to see you there.
This whole thing is riddled with so much manipulation and me. I hope I need to have the conversations that I need to have. Also, Simon, way to
Good
go,
for
buddy.
you.
I mean,
Boundaries.
it took 16 days in a coma and several other hospital stays, but you're like, nah, not this
Good for
time.
you.
But it kills me,
Dude.
that his parents went. And I mean, I'm not throwing shade or blaming anyone. Simon told his dad, I think she's trying to poison me. Here are some examples.
I saved my vomit in a jar. I'm that serious. In case I'm dead, you'll have evidence.
We all got invited to a kind of suspicious lunch where she's making everything. The kids aren't going to be there. Why are we all supposed to be there? If you back out, you got to tell your parents to back out. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm sure.
or maybe he did. I don't know. Maybe he was like, I'm not going. And because they're nice people and didn't really want to believe it. But how fucking gut wrenching to know I fucking knew it. And then he did. He knew it.
Dude, it's going to be literally, I'm sure you carry that for the rest of your life because at the end of the day, his parents and aunt and uncle were punished for being kind, loving, good-hearted, open-hearted people. Like, if they had a fault at all, and that's not a fault, that's the best, like, that's what everybody loved about them. And it's just always sickening from a third-party perspective when you can see clearly a snake in the midst. And these are, like we always say, just people living their lives, doing the right thing. When your daughter-in-law, almost ex-daughter-in-law, is like, I think I might be dying. You're the grandparents of these children. That has huge implications for you. And you're the pastor of the church.
Yeah.
Of course you want to go and pray with this person. So the insidious part of this, and good for Simon, because he should not have to watch out because there might be a snake that's going to bite his family members. Yeah, great boundary for him. So that's just, I think this text message exchange, you're right, because she focuses it wholly on herself. I've spent hours preparing it. Issues I'm facing. I spent a small fortune on the beef Wellingtons. I want it to be special. I may not be able to this. It's important to me that you're there. I can have the conversations. I hope, it's like, she's fucking insufferable.
Oh, yeah. And it's just guilt trip manipulation, which is how she's gotten her way most times. So if you beat someone down enough, there's a chance he replies and is like, all right, okay, I'll be there. That's what she's hoping for.
Especially leaving it on they're coming at 12:30. I hope to see you there. And then she's like, he'll show up.
Yeah. No, well, he didn't.
No.
On July 29th, Erin hosted the lunch at her home in Leongatha. Her children were sent to the movie theater during the meal. She served individually wrapped portions of beef Wellington on matching gray plates. Erin's plate, however, was a brighter color. During the lunch, she told the group that she had cancer, which was later revealed to be a lie. The guests said grace over the meal and prayed for her recovery as they ate, unaware of what they were consuming.
So beef Wellington, I didn't know, it's like, normally you make a big thing of beef and then there's like a pate-like substance that you coat the beef in that has mushrooms in it, gravy-ish, but more pate-ish. And then it's a pastry and then you bake the whole thing and then you slice it like a meatloaf.
Yes.
What she made was 5 little baby-sized beef Wellingtons. So each person had their own.
Which is interesting. Yeah.
Because she had a separate one and they all had their own.
Yes. Well,
on their own matching plates.
It would, if I was trying to portion out an exact amount of something everyone was to get, I would have to make individual things to ensure that, as well as I don't get part of the tainted one.
It's a little, again, I think she thinks no one will ever find this out.
Yeah. Oh, this is so cute. I'm making little individual beef Wellingtons out of, the filet that I got. It sounds delicious if it wasn't filled with poison that you'd been collecting for months.
But the idea to just like the amount of time you take drying them, putting them in the pate and spreading the pate on the meat and then putting the pastry around it and then letting it bake and then taking it out and then there's just
5
so many
times.
steps. Yeah, there's so many steps.
Yeah.
That's anytime, that there's a death that we discuss on the show, what is most chilling, I get most fixated on is like the moments that the action taker took in the moments leading up to the action. And the amount of times that they had to turn back. And that speaks to premeditation as well. Like at any point from way back 6 months ago when you picked the mushrooms, you could have turned back.
Yeah.
And they've been sitting in your food dehydrator, and then they've been sitting in your cabinet in a Tupperware, and they've been sitting like just this kind of like telltale heart that's going on that's like ticking for these months. And then the moment happens and you let him go,
it's eerie.
Cut it, and you let him put it in their mouth and you let him do it until the whole thing is gone. That is what gets me, dude.
It does. To think about just the cooking of it all, maybe texting while you're doing, like, can't wait to see y'all while you're, making their death meal. The ability for someone to be both of those things is, I can't think of the right word. It's unsettling. It's terrifying. It's like looking someone like a psychopath or a sociopath in the eyes where you're just like, you literally have no feelings. You got wronged or you think you were wronged. And the next step was they're going to suffer. And it was a tunnel vision, one way. I got a one-way ticket to what I'm doing from then on out.
No, you're right. And I was just reading the Stephen King book called The Outsider, and without any like spoilers, one of the discussions they have in it is like, whether you want to believe in supernatural monsters or not, when you face a person who has the capacity to commit the type of harm that insert murderer here, which would be in this case, Erin Patterson, how is that any different? Like, granted,
that's the real
yes.
monster.
Exactly. You're like, yes, it may not like materialize from mixing these things together in a puff of smoke, but like the fact that it walks amongst us.
Those are the scariest monsters of all.
That's right. Goddamn.
Yeah. That's why I mean, we talk about choosing the bear, but I would always choose a ghost in the woods over a person too, because
we can reason with each other.
Yeah. Well, and like, I don't know, man. People can be capable of some really fucked up stuff. And these things that sit in our heads up here, nobody really knows what's going on up there. And, in our own heads and other people's heads, I think about that a lot, that as complex and nuanced as our brains are, and how many people struggle with, we call it mental illness. Perhaps it's just brains. And because, but we've deemed it like
computers in our head.
Yeah. We've deemed it like it's an illness that we must fix, which yes, maybe we need medicine or something to help us function day to day. But a long time ago, like the right way a brain should function got written down in a science book. And then everyone else started comparing, I mean, like anything, then we all started comparing ourselves against what the perfect brain is. But no one has that. These things are so complicated in our head that like, I just don't think we give enough credit to how complex our brains are, and to give ourselves enough grace that if it seems like it's not functioning correctly, there is no weakness in trying to seek out like getting help for that. I think people, and it's destigmatized more now, but seeking out counseling, therapy, medical help is deemed like a weakness. And so people just silently suffer with these things that they think they can overcome on their own, and they can't. And maybe they could if they were able to reach out. And you also find like community in that. You realize like, I'm not alone. Other people are suffering with this too. This has all just been a side rant on why we should all give ourselves more grace when it comes to our brains and our mental health, because everyone, and I mean everyone, has something going on up there. It's a spectrum, but nobody has a perfect brain that functions perfectly day in and day out, and everyone's just happy all the time. That just doesn't exist.
Every one of them's got Abby Normal written on the jar.
Yes,
like,
yes.
Oh, God brought you the brain. It's Abby Normal.
Mhm.
Dick Van Dyke in his book, Keep Moving, talks about that. We're all like, it's like a building, and you have the top floor all the way down to the bottom floor, and the conscious you inside of it are the maintenance person for the building. And your job every day is just to wake up and go, what needs to be worked on today? And if the maintenance person might not be able to fix everything. He said, you may need a plumber. You may need somebody that specializes in what's going on in the attic. You may need somebody that specializes in the basement, your foot or your butt, I guess, whichever one's the bottom. But like the idea that it's like a scan and it is without judgment.
Yeah.
It is a whole view of yourself. And then you say, I will do what I can, and I will recognize where my abilities stop. And that's whenever I will enlist an expert. Much like if my toilet is sort of clogged up and I can like plunger it and then I can fix it, that's fine. But the water starts going everywhere and then it's floating away. I'm calling A+ Plumbing or whatever they're called. You know what I mean? Like, so that you're right. Like with our brain, why do we do that with our brains? We're like, but I'm the genius with brains. Like people spend decades learning about brains.
Yeah.
Why do you, just because you were born with one, you think you know? I don't know everything about a vagina or a butt or whatever. And I was born with both of those.
No,
like,
I
there
don't
are
either.
experts.
I probably don't even know like 20% of what a butt can do, really.
But you're willing to learn.
I am willing to learn that, but it's like that way with bodies and everything. Like we all are told like, this is what it should look like. This is how it should be. If you don't meet these expectations, something's wrong with you and you're less than. And that shames people into not speaking out when they need help.
Literally, the number one thing that has helped me with all of that has been remembering what my mom said when I was a kid, which is a question you should all ask yourselves. If your brain's telling you something or advertising is telling you something, is says who? Says who? Because I'll find myself being like, you're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not fast enough. You're not healthy enough. You're not fit enough. And I'm like, says who? Says who? I'm like, whose standard is this?
Yeah.
I am. Today, I'm a maintenance man. I did my maintenance on the building. Some things are going to have to wait until the specialists can weigh in. But for now, at least it's a habitable building.
We're waiting on the plumbers, but we got, I mean, the tarot we did last night, we both got cards that were very much like this. Like, be kind to yourself, understand that it's not a competition with people, and to meet yourself where you are, and that's okay. And examine like, why do you make the choices you do? Whose standards are these? Are these your personal standards, or are these society's personal standards that you feel like you have to meet? And I've been reflecting on that all day.
It's a good question. Shout out to the Women of Myth deck. It's a great
deck. Great deck.
It's badass. Batty baddies. But all that to say is you do feel bad that this Erin was struck. Like she never, I don't think anybody, there's not people coming out saying she was my best friend. We were great together. I mean, we'll talk about it a little bit. She has some friends. We'll talk about it as far as the trial in part 2, but like, there hasn't been a huge pushback, for instance, like from her former colleagues or from like neighbors. The neighbors are kind of like, she didn't ever talk to us. Like she didn't ever come out.
She was estranged from her parents.
Estranged from her family. Not a ton of like popularity that not that matters, but just as far as like not a lot of people to vouch for you being great. So then it does bring back that whole, well, what could have happened? Like where could the intervention have happened with her earlier?
Yeah.
And
the lack of like social awareness, social skills, emotional maturity, all of those things
that kind of lead you to think, A, this is the answer, and B, I'm willing to go for it.
That night, all 4 guests began experiencing violent gastrointestinal symptoms, including nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea, which are classic signs of death cap poisoning. Meanwhile, Erin's son later told police she was suffering no ill symptoms. That evening after lunch, he found her upstairs playing Legos.
Just a silent evening by yourself after you've done a horrible thing.
Yeah. The next morning, July 30th, the guests were hospitalized in Korumburra and Leongatha. Doctors suspected poisoning and transferred them to Melbourne. Erin drove her son to a flying lesson, a 90-minute drive as scheduled. She later told police she was having gastro symptoms herself that supposedly required her to stop every 20 minutes due to diarrhea. However, her children didn't recall this in later interviews. CCTV footage from a gas station along the route also shows her walking calmly inside, spending just 9 seconds in the restroom, then buying a sandwich and candies before leaving. She later claimed the food was for her kids.
She definitely told him, like, I was squatting on the roadside every 20 minutes of a 90-minute drive. So that's a lot of times. And a child who, and I say child, their kids are older teens that can fly. First of all,
Yeah.
I think would remember.
Oh my God.
Graphically.
The way, if this happened to me and Ella and Simon, 7 and 4, were in the car, it would be how they introduced me to everybody for the rest of their lives. My mom once on a way to a flying lesson had to stop in diarrhea every 20 minutes on the side of the road.
Yeah.
It would be, of course you would remember something like that. So again, it's like, you're lying. Your kids were in the car. You know what I mean? So it's that hubris again of like, well,
Yeah.
they're still not going to find out.
No, I mean, like, he's 16-ish years old based on, depending on when his birthday is, 15, 16, 17, somewhere in there. And she's 9, 10 years old, the kids. So I'm like, you can't just say that.
No.
Like, the cops are going to ask
They're not
your kids.
babies. Yeah, they what happened?
And the other thing too is going, to the petrol station, stopping at a BP and only spending 9 minutes in the bathroom. If you're fighting for your life the way that the other guests were, you wouldn't she's zero rush.
Yeah.
Watching the footage of Erin Patterson in a BP gas station, she looks like she's having a great day.
She's not just holding her butt right into the bathroom.
She's not running. She doesn't look upset. She just is kind of like strolls on in, goes to the bathroom. Count down 9 seconds, by the way, on your watch. That's not long enough to do anything. I believe she later said, well, I was throwing away some tissues that I had to use on the roadside thing into the bathroom. Yikes. But still, 9 seconds, you have to wash your hands for 20 seconds, sing happy birthday. Like, come on now. And then, just strolls over and gets some candies. They called it the lolly aisle in the footage I was watching it, and got a sandwich and wandered right out.
Got back in the car to go to the flying lesson when you know that your children's grandparents and family are currently in the hospital.
Fighting for their lives.
Yeah.
And she's playing Legos and taking her kids for a little drive.
Yeah. By July 31st, all 4 guests were receiving critical care at the ICU at Austin Hospital. Doctors confirmed that they had been poisoned by death caps. Ian and Heather Wilkinson both required a liver transplant. Gail and Dawn were 2 critically ill. That morning, Erin went to the hospital and reported having gastro symptoms. However, she suddenly discharged herself against medical advice after staff asked her about the source of the mushrooms. Doctors were concerned for her safety and contacted police. One doctor, Chris Webster, tried calling her multiple times but couldn't reach her. Worried that she had been exposed to a potentially fatal toxin and had left the building, he alerted authorities.
And that's the crazy thing that, like, I don't know what she was thinking. If she thinks that she thought she was going to, like, kind of like cover it up or what, but basically the doctor didn't know or suspect that she had been the source of it. So for him, he's just like, oh my God, in no time, she's going to be flat of her back like these folks and like on a ventilator.
Yeah, he's trying to help her out. This is what a good doctor would do.
Yeah. And so he just called police and was like, I have a concern regarding this patient. I think she was exposed. I've tried several times to get a hold of her. Describes like that there was a meal and that she was the one the meal. And he said, while I was attending with the other patients, the nurse informed me that she had discharged herself against medical advice. And there's a little piece of paper that's got her signature on it that says, I understand, like, I shouldn't be leaving and I'm leaving. And I think it's because they start going, you're poisoned too. There's 4 older people. So do you know those people? Oh yeah, they're my in-laws. Oh my gosh. So what did you guys all eat together? And it's like, beef Wellington. And they're like, where did it come from? And you're like, well, I cooked it. And they're like, oh, well, we just need a list of all the ingredients. And she's like, yeah. You can have the leftovers. Sure. I'm just going to go though. I got to go. I just need to go. And it's like, why? Why do you need to go?
The Department of Health opened an investigation into the source of the mushrooms. As her in-laws lay dying in hospital, health officials texted Erin for more information. She replied vaguely with no details, using the excuse that she was too busy with hospital meetings to provide more information, even though she had already left the hospital.
The response was just like, "Oh, yeah, I'd like to get you the info. It would be great, but I'm just, you know how it is. It's rough." And the health inspectors are like, "Do you not give a fuck?
This is
They're
time
dying."
sensitive. Like literally,
Yes.
they have seconds here.
Yes, they're like, "At this moment,
Yes.
these folks are fucking dying." And
In
she's
fact,
like,
why aren't you here
"Yeah, things are
to
busy."
pay pay your last respects?
No, I mean, this health official gets that response and is like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, I would
when you call the
imagine
cops.
at the hospital, once she checks herself out, the doctors and nurses, the wheels start turning. And she also knows if she stays at the hospital and the police show up, well, she's going to get arrested.
Well, plus if she stays at the hospital, she's not going to have any symptoms. Like she
Yeah.
maybe, here's the thing. I could have diarrhea at any point. I have IBSD, right? Like, so who's to say? But like, if I go into the hospital and I'm like, I'm having horrible diarrhea symptoms, I'm not going to show positive for amatoxin, which is what's in death cap. So
Mhm.
I think she knew. She did not like Wesley, what's his name? The Dread Pirate Roberts herself, where you like eat a little bit of
Yes.
the poison every day. So you like get the
Build up
immunity up. Like,
immunity.
no, I think she just didn't have any herself. And
Mhm.
so perhaps let's save it for what do we think? But that, I don't know what the plan was here. To just go in.
Like so often, these people only have so much of a plan. And then
Dude.
it's like you just kind of are flying by the seat of your pants at some point.
True.
Police hadn't yet stepped in, but with 4 people clinging to life, a cook refusing to cooperate, and traces of a deadly fungi, questions were beginning to swirl. Could this have been a devastating foraging mishap or the first sign of a calculated, deliberate act? So what do we think?
So far, I think she is not thinking of the consequences of her actions. Like, because narcissist or like a sociopath or something, or like she's so in her own delusion, and it's like almost an obsession to where consequences almost don't even matter. Like, you're so fixated on this result of like, I will get revenge, that it's not crossing your mind. Like, it's crossing your mind vaguely in ways to like get away with it, insofar as I'm going to grab these mushrooms in March, April, and then dry them and all that. Like, she thought of that part of it, but didn't think of all the myriad ways that it was very clearly going to be pointed back to her.
Yeah. I think kind of like with Corey Richins or JP Miller too. It's like all these narcissists that think that they can get away with whatever. When they're planning out their evil plan in their head, they stop at, ooh, and then they're going to die. And that's going to feel so good because I got revenge. Period. The end. And it's like, no. There's going to be a whole investigation and a lot of questions. And how are you going to explain this? And it's like they don't get to that point because it's just they want to feel that gratification of, I won. I got what I set out to do.
Damn, that's a good point, where it's like the fixation on the result is, and I bet too, their mind hand waves anything else. You know, if it's kind of like the police might ask questions, but I'll just tell them I also feel sick. It'll be fine. They won't ask me. I'll
They're
just throw
stupid.
away.
I'm smarter than everybody anyways. Yeah.
They won't find all the CCTV footage that we're about to talk about in the second part that like shows you doing a ton of stuff. Like, I also wonder if, because, you know, she's born in 1974. It's not like she's like a boomer and doesn't understand technology.
She's technically Gen X.
Yeah. And so it's strange to me that, I think so. So it's strange to me that she wouldn't consider the amount of, again, possible digital forensics, as well as just fucking cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, there's just footage of her at the hospital doing other bad stuff we'll talk about in part 2. Like, there's footage. Yeah. So maybe she just didn't consider it. Or like you said, it's just so much like they'll be dead and then they'll all pay. And then whatever happens, who cares? Because I got mine.
Yeah. And, you know, there are people that are very brilliant about certain things and very stupid about other things, like just street smarts or everyday stuff. And that's when people like this usually get caught, because they're not thinking about they're thinking on their high, elevated, brilliant brain instead of just like how a normie would think, like, oh, yeah, there's going to be cameras, so I should probably not do that part.
Yeah, no, that's a good point too. Is you're so fixated on like which toxin and which possible chemical would kill them that you're right. It's like you spend all your time focused on and how to dehydrate mushrooms, grind them down into powders, and sneak them into food. We'll talk about some text messages where she discusses doing it for positive reasons for her kids. But like you're right, like she's so focused in like on the chemical part of it, the mushroom treatment part of it, and like how to preserve it, that maybe she just like your brain just doesn't even have the capacity to consider all the rest of it. And that's how
you got a one-track mind.
Yeah, you end up with text messages from the Department of Health literally the day after you did your crime going, we think mushrooms killed these people and we'll just find out whoever had those and that's probably who did it. And you're like, I don't have time to answer these messages because of busy hospital meetings.
Yeah, out of sight, out of mind, just avoidance. You're like, it's not going to go away though. It's not going to go away. You can avoid it all you want, but it's going to come for you. Well, we got a lot more to discuss in part 2, but this is where we end this one. 4 people clinging for life and the person responsible out building Legos and stopping for lollies.
Stopping for lollies and too busy to text back and explain where you got your mushrooms from. But we've got so much more, including the investigation, the trial, the aftermath of the trial. And this should be dropping as part 2. We'll have breaking new news on the forthcoming pretrial sentencing, the sentencing hearings that will come up next week. So we'll be watching those too.
And victim impact statements too, as well.
Happen at the sentencing.
That's why we decided to break it into 2, is because you found out we're going to have some breaking news pretty soon, and we wanted to keep everybody up to date.
That too, and also in the aftermath of the trial, a bunch more information has come out. So we'll make sure part 2 has not just info on the trial, but all of the things that have been released since the trial.
Yeah. As always, the devil rules the airwaves.
And keep it creepy.
This episode of Sinisterhood is made possible with the help of our amazing patrons.
If you're interested in supporting the show, consider joining our Patreon. You'll get access to ad-free regular episodes, weekly bonus content, you're able to vote on episode topics, join our monthly live streams, and more.
Keep it creepy.
Mwah.